there, my name is Donna Toski, and I am the co-founder of the Between Men and Women Couples Retreats and the founder of the Spark Communication Success System for Couples. And as part of my Spark Relationship Support Series, I have the lovely Kathy Kinskey with us here again. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know Kathy, let me tell you a bit about her. Kathy is a licensed psychotherapist, and she's helped hundreds of adults, children, and families over the past 20 plus years to get the tools. I was going to say, I have to say, Kathy, you just don't look like you could be doing this for 20 plus years. What'd you start when you were like 10?
I won't get any closer to the screen.
Okay, well, anyways, okay.
I'll keep my wrinkles.
She's been working with adults, children, and families over the past 20 plus years to get the tools, to give them the tools that they need to have success and happiness in their relationships and life. Kathy specializes in attachment and trauma issues in kids, adolescents, and adults, and is now thrilled to be taking this work to parents all over the world by going online with her business and courses. Her first online course, Helping Your Child Heal After Loss, Trauma, and Stress, begins October 22nd, 2018, this year. And we're going to, actually, no, she's changed the date. We're going to talk about that at the end of this little interview. So stick with us, because I'm going to ask her how people can get involved in that, or more information. And so tonight, or rather for this session, we are talking about make love, not stress, how to recover from a blowout. So this is, of course, a blowout with your significant other, and I suspect that you could apply it to really any relationship. But what we're focusing on this time is the relationship with your significant other. So awesome. Okay, Kathy, take us in.
Awesome. Okay, well, this is such a great subject, because we've talked about before in earlier interviews how I work a lot with kids and their families, and a lot with kids who have had early trauma and have attachment issues. I like to call it attachment distress, because they're not permanent if we have the right tools. These things are very workable. But this work with kids and their families has greatly informed my work with adults. Wow. Because I get to see sort of the continuum of what things look like over time. If there is some sort of intervention where parents get the tools that they need early, and then when there's not. Either way, it's workable. Yeah. It's just a little bit easier if we happen to have parents who had the tools early. But, this information is just very slowly coming into mainstream awareness. So we've all got work to do. Our parents did the best they could with what they had and what they got, but we know so much more now. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So tonight we're talking about make love, not stress, recovering from blowouts in a relationship, or it might be a simple argument, but you find that, you're just stuck. You can't quite get back on track, or you're holding resentments, or you just can't let go of the emotions or the thoughts that are around that event. So what we're going to talk about then is how do we work with each other with tools that really help us to get back on track as quickly as possible. Okay. So a lot of this it's sort of like preliminary work. So we talked a lot last time about if we were to think about a relationship as a house. Yeah. And if we were going to build a strong house, what would we do? Well, we build it first. But when we're building it, we'd use good glue. That's not a very good builder.
Oh, well, I'm a woman. I've used my shoe for a hammer, so I get it. It's okay.
That's right. So, but we're going to use something to really hold that relationship together, to keep the house strong, right? Yep. And then we're going to make repairs as needed to that house so that it stays strong. So we talked about all of that. A lot of that involved just really understanding your partner's relationship style, really learning how to work with that, whether they're what Stan Tatkin calls an anchor, or which is someone who has a pretty secure attachment. They feel pretty comfortable in relationship, pretty safe. They don't feel threatened by a lot. They feel like they can sort of hang in. And a wave who they love relationship, but they also have lots of just anxious feelings that show up in relationship, lots of fears. And an island is someone who is we could think of them as they're sort of avoidant. They seem like they're pretty independent. They can be okay alone or not in life. They may isolate quite a bit in relationship, or especially if there's stress in a relationship. So knowing how to work with all that, because it's all workable. It's not about there's something wrong with me or my partner. It's about, okay, this is what I learned, and this is how you work with those things. So,
it's interesting that you say about there's nothing wrong. That's the big message.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. When people think that there's something wrong with them or the whole situation, what they do is they pull back and then that's that reaction, and then you can't go in and do much, because who wants to go into the face of being wrong? It just doesn't work. And so I love that. In your field, I've really noticed a shift. Okay, I've noticed a shift that they're going from what's wrong to what's normal.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, so true. And even to what is working. So yes. I know therapy continues to evolve as we all continue to evolve, and the science continues to evolve, the science is so cool. About relationships. So
anyway, speaking of science, now you're probably you're gonna be talking a bit about that, I guess, pretty soon. Hey, the neurobiology of that.
We are, and it is good stuff. It's juicy stuff. I love this stuff, and I think you will too. So, okay, so the first thing we're gonna do that's sort of a preliminary thing is we're gonna hold a model in mind that is super helpful. It's very simple, but it's so helpful. So the model goes like this. So I do have, I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna just, so here's the model. You can see on the bottom is stress, and then there's emotion. The emotion, so this is from Brian Post and Heather Forbes, who I am so thankful for them. I've learned so much from them. They have taught the world a ton about attachment and how to work with it. So, but this is very simple. You can see they talk about how all emotions either fall under the category of love-based emotions, or fall under the category of fear-based emotions.
Love the simplicity of that.
It's awesome. Yeah. And it's so true. If we think about what happens in our nervous systems, which reflects what's going on in the biology in our brains, it really is all about this. So if our partner is having a response that we are reading as, say, they're not on the same page with us, or they are being dismissive, or maybe they're angry, and but what they would say is that all that stuff falls under fear. If someone is being really avoidant, fear.
Yeah.
So, but then that translates into behavior. Yeah. So I love this model because it is super helpful for really helping us to depersonalize our partner's behavior, or even our kids' behavior. I work with parents. So instead of taking something personally, like my partner is doing that on purpose, they're you know, we might think they're being a jerk,
Yeah.
or, but if we look at what is the behavior about and we really use this model, then we start asking questions to ourselves of what's going on, you know, why are they being avoidant? What's happening? So, so let's just give an example here, okay? So, okay, I'm going to just talk about how this often shows up in the couples I work with. And I will say many of the couples that I work with, I end up working with because they're the parents of kids that I work with.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah. And because they're working with some attachment and trauma stuff with their kids, it's really important that they get on board with how they're doing relationship in their family, because their kids are learning from them all the time.
Sure.
Is relationship safe, or is it just this stressful thing where no one can rest?
Yeah.
No one can feel, you know, really consistently safe. So anyway, so coming back to this model and giving an example. So if we were to think about a couple who, let's say they're still kind of new in relationship. They're learning about each other, and they have their first big blowout fight. And by fight, I'm never talking about anything that is physical.
Sure.
But I'm talking about a big argument. So if we have that going on, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, domestic abuse, you need to see a professional who specializes in that. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So that's a completely different ball game, because then you just got to deal with safety issues and sure everybody you're safe. So anyway, so they have their first big blowout fight, and they are having a heck of a time coming back from that. In fact, they're really questioning the relationship. They're questioning, I don't think I knew this person very well. And maybe they didn't. But
did I make the mistake of my life?
Exactly. Yeah. So one partner this is how it often goes. One partner may be really withdrawing, and the other partner may be going towards that partner.
Right, chasing them.
And feeling so, but in either case, they're both feeling very threatened. They're feeling
it's reactive.
They're not feeling so safe or secure about, are we going to be okay here? So one of the things that couples can do, if we are to think about this, so where a person might go is thinking, I don't know if my partner, it's the partner who keeps going towards the one who's withdrawing might be having thoughts of I don't know if my partner has what it takes to really hang in here. I mean, they're just withdrawing. What am I supposed to do with this? And I don't know if this is the right relationship for me. So if the other partner, though, is witnessing that the partner who's withdrawing, that this person keeps coming toward them, they may go to a place where they're feeling like, I don't know if I can be with this person if they can't give me the space to recover from this. I need some time and space.
Get off my back. I've got a couple of clients just like this.
Okay. So, but again, if we go back to the stress model, so see how all that is, the thoughts become very personal, like it's about me. It's about how they feel about me, or it's about them. There's something wrong with them, or how they can show up in a relationship. It's all very personal. But if we come back to this and we go to, okay, if the person isn't coming from, the behavior isn't showing us behaviors like empathy and love and connection, just positive regard for the other, but we're seeing other things, then we're talking about fear-based behavior. So super simple.
This or that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually is how the brain works. When we go into survival, it's extremely black and white.
No grays,
We think you're either in or you're out.
Yeah, yeah.
You're either good or you're bad. You know, this is either black or white. It's right or wrong.
You know, it's interesting, Kathy, because I think that what happens with us as human beings, you know, because we think that somehow we should be above this, and therefore we are above this.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not above this. We got these brains and these nervous systems. We're not, you know,
yeah.
beat that. Oh, yeah, I mean, of course, with training and awareness, but coming right out of the gate, this is the way it is. And so we have this idea that we should be, or we should know better, or we should whatever. And we don't, in other words, we don't realize that we could be in reactive mode. And we think that that's just kind of the way it is. Yeah, it's all right. But we're in reactive mode. And then we say, well, this is the way it is, therefore it's my partner. Or it's these circumstances, not realizing that now they're in this kind of this groove, this reactive groove. So this is the best conversation.
You know, I love how you said that too, Donna, because that is probably one of my biggest learnings in doing this work, is that there's no one who doesn't deal with this stuff.
Yeah, you're human, you've got it.
Yeah, and we're mammals, so we have a brain that is based on a survival instinct. And so if we feel like something like a relationship is threatened, that is about life or death for us, because connection is one of the most fundamentally important things for our survival, really.
Sure.
So we're all in it together. So anyway, so if we're to come back to that couple though, and really depersonalize, kind of help them to see, you know, if we were just to interpret this solely on, is their behavior showing you that they're in a state of love, being able to sort of resource from inside themselves, or are they in a state of fear? Mm-hmm. And so they're more of in a survival response, and knowing that, helping them to see it's not about them. So, but sometimes what is needed with this model is words aren't always the best thing, because that's in our cognitive brain. That's in the prefrontal cortex, which goes offline when we're really, really stressed.
That's when we say something stupid, when we're really stressed, right? We're not coming from the front of our brain. We're saying, we're seeing, like, and I'm like a testament to that. When I'm freaked out, I mean, I won't go into it, but I did something today that was unbelievable to my kid. I can't even repeat how stupid it was. Carry on, Anna. Oh my God.
Yeah, see, I know. And so we're going to come to that, because one of the things I'm going to talk about again tonight, because it's being seen as more and more critical in relationship, and that is rupture and repair.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we get back to that, because we do have ruptures. We blow it sometimes. Sometimes we're just so unaware of things. And
so when you say ruptures, you mean rupture in connection, right? Just to be clear.
Yes.
When you say rupture, okay, yeah.
Yeah, rupture in that, like, just like you said, you say or do something that you just wish you wouldn't have said or done. And it really has hurt or offended your partner or your child or someone that you love. It can be very much perceived as a threat to the relationship, even if that was not the intention.
Sure, yeah. I mean, people don't go in intending. I'm sure, like, okay, like I said before, it's okay, I'm going to screw your life over. We don't do that, you know. We don't, just in the moment is when we do stupid things or say stupid things, you know. We don't come in planning on that. So this is so great.
It's true. Yeah, we are so human. So human. So, but we're going to come back to that. I actually was listening to something today again, that it was such a reminder to me on, we think as rupture is something we kind of we got to try to avoid and just get through, somehow try to make it better.
Mm.
But what the research just keeps showing us is that rupture is actually kind of critical. Not that you want to do it on purpose,
Mm.
but it is in rupture that when we learn how to do rupture and repair, that actually is a key building block for a healthy relationship, a secure relationship, because we're not just repairing the moment of rupture with our partner or a child. We're repairing stuff that's way back, usually. So what we're doing when we repair rupture is we're sort of building tolerance for stress in a relationship, so that
Yes.
over time we don't automatically go to, oh my God, I think it's over.
That's the
Or,
resiliency, right? That's resiliency.
yes,
That's
yes, absolutely.
malleability. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of that knowing that gets built in every time a repair is done pretty well. It doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty well, and in a timely way, that builds in our nervous systems. It's not really in cognitive thought as much as it is our nervous systems start to settle in relationship more.
Well, that's what's happened for me. This relationship that I'm in has been very healing. Like I mentioned that, I had a traumatic childhood and it had my moments, but this relationship has been very, very healing. And that's exactly why what you're talking about is that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. So what I love is the hope here, right? Is the hope, because it all happens now. Well, take us to the next step in this now.
Okay.
The couple's had a blowout, and so what happens? So what's next?
Okay, so again, if we're I'm going to just say one more thing about this. So if we really can look at the behavior as, is it either fear-based or love-based, right?
Yes.
We can respond differently.
Yeah.
So, and this takes some practice. It's not like we learn it and then all of a sudden we shift how we do things. But if we can practice really seeing through the eyes of, is my partner, is their state one where they can even access empathy or love or, like good communication even, or are they in a state of fear? So anyway, so that's the stress model. It's so simple, but it's very powerful if you practice it.
Okay, so that's interesting. Now again, the stress model, that was by Brian Post and Heather. I didn't catch her last name.
Sure. Yeah, it's Heather Forbes.
Forbes, okay.
And I'll tell you, those two are powerful people in this work. Heather is a therapist. She's an adoptive mom herself. Her kids are raised, I think, but she knows this stuff like the back of her hand. She's amazing. Okay. And Brian Post, he actually was in a series of foster or adopt homes through a lot of his childhood.
Wow.
And he's now a PhD psychologist and has really brought so much depth to this work. I mean, he's like a voice for those kids. He's amazing. But has taught us a ton about attachment. So, okay, so we'll go into the next point. And so now we're going to talk about some fun stuff. So it's not so fun in the moment sometimes.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay, awesome. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, but it's good because once you start to kind of get this, and you can even play with it. We're going to talk about some ways to play with this. So, but so I'm going back to Stan Tatkin's book, and I brought it out for you guys just because I love this book. So, Wired for Love. You have to have this book.
Get that book.
It's such a good book. Yes, if there was one book and only one book I would recommend for every and any couple, this is the book.
All right.
You can get through it in one sitting.
Yes.
It's 200 pages. But I tell couples, they say, what should we read next? We're done. I say, read it again.
Yeah, good.
So it's so good. So anyway, so this comes from his work. And so he talks about the primitives in our brain and the ambassadors. And I love that because that's exactly what they are. So they're different parts of the brain, and I'm not going to go into that because we don't really have time. So But the primitives, if you think about a primitive response, if you think about, we're mammals, you know, like the other animals out there, if you think about, they're out in, you know, they're out in nature, and they perceive through one of their senses, maybe it's a sound, or they saw something out of the corner of their eye, they perceive danger.
Yeah.
So immediately, no thought, it's not a cognitive process, the blood literally rushes to the limbs and gets them ready for fight or flight. And it leaves, well, for us, especially for us, it leaves our prefrontal cortex, the thinking, planning, executing part.
I really want people to get, like, we don't have a choice about this. This is a reaction. This is like
very much
part of how we are wired. So don't think you're above this.
Yes. If you are a human being, you are not above this.
Yeah.
So we're the same way. So we may not be out in nature, and we may not be afraid of another animal attacking us. But what does really trigger us, what really puts us into that mode where we're in fight, flight, or freeze mode is, especially if our relationships are threatened.
Sure.
That is huge.
It's worse than the tiger.
Well, I mean, and they're, you know, really, people have all kinds of physical things that manifest over time.
Sure.
When their relationships are not going well. I mean, we are wired. That's why this book by Stan Tatkin is called Wired for Love. Yeah. We are wired to thrive and do best when we have healthy, supportive, secure relationships.
Yeah. So it's important. So listen up, like everybody you're listening to this. This is important, and we have this idea, I think, that because we are born into relationship, and it's kind of by default, spend time on this. It's really important. I mean, it affects your immune system, your health, your well-being. It's huge.
It really is. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the more that I read and learn, and as neuroscience is progressing, it's amazing how it is just core. It's fundamental to our well-being.
Yeah.
So anyway, so coming back to those primitives. So the primitives, if you just think about the primitives as they are the parts of our brain that really literally unconsciously put us into fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? Yeah. So, and if we're truly in danger, that's super helpful.
Sure. Yeah.
But often we're usually not in danger. Hmm. So I'm going to talk about that more in just a second. So the ambassadors, though, are the parts of our brain that really nurture love, that help us to stay in relationships, that help us to keep love alive. And the ambassadors are often, not always, but they're pretty diplomatic. They know how to finesse things to make things work socially. And that is the key about ambassadors, is we do have a part of our nervous system that is the social engagement nervous system. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to keep it online, but also if it goes offline because the primitives have taken over, because it could be literally we saw something in our partner's face out of the corner of our eye.
Good second.
And we're in a mode. And sometimes we're not even aware why we shifted into, I mean, it could be a look on their face that reminded us of something that we're not even conscious of. Yeah. But so we're going to talk about how do we shift out of that, but also how do we work with our partner in such a way, or children. I always like to remind people this stuff, it's really so wonderful for all of your intimate relationships. Yeah. So these are things, well, some of them, not all of them, that you can do with your kids. So anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit about like the fear language of primitives and the language of ambassadors, because This is one of the ways that we can
Recognize, yeah.
yeah, we can prevent having the primitives take over, or if they have, sort of bringing back in our ambassadors in our brain. Okay.
So in other words, there's language that you could want to avoid. Is that what you're saying? Because if you
Definitely.
use that kind of language, you can either set yourself off or your
Yes.
partner. Is that it?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Take us in. Yeah. This is fascinating.
Okay. So the number one thing that often shows up, well, let me say that differently. The number one, the biggest fear language or trigger that can happen when our primitives has taken over that threatens our relationship, threatens our partner, is the language of leaving. So I don't know if I can be in this relationship.
I'm divorcing you. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Should we be together?
Yeah, I think this is maybe too much for me. Or, and it can be kind of subtle where we might say to our partner, well, I didn't mean it, and I see this sometimes, or, well, I was just really thinking that to myself, but I'm not going to leave. Well, to your partner, I mean, their system is probably lit up or completely shut down. And because that is one of the biggest threats that we can have in our relationship is abandonment.
Abandonment, sure.
Or rejection, which is just kind of a subcategory of abandonment. So,
sure.
So that is the biggest thing, really, the biggest fear language. Or so if you think of fight, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, you can just think about how the language might show up. Like if I'm in fight mode, I might be attacking. I might be really angry. I might be, saying things that are very much of a blame nature.
Sure. You this, you that.
And that's it. That is it. Leading with the word you instead of the word I. Yeah. So, and if we're in flight mode, that's what we just talked about. I don't know if I can be here.
Yeah.
This might be too much for me.
Or I'm done. I've had enough.
I'm done. Yeah, I've had enough. That's one that I just recently, I'm working with a mom and dad, and the mom says this sometimes and doesn't understand why that is so triggering for him. And he's got abandonment in his history, and it really shuts him down. It's not good. They can't quite get to that place of safety and security until that stops.
Well, it's interesting. I've heard people that even will threaten suicide.
Yeah.
They'll say, I should just kill myself, or it would be better if I weren't even here. Interesting. Yeah. That's what let me out of here. I'm taking off. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, that's kind of a bigger, if that's happening, and I don't mean to laugh about it. If that is happening, that's a bigger issue. So you probably want to get some help online, because
well, I guess I don't know though. I think that I've heard people say that as a figure of speech, not that they're really suicidal.
Yeah.
But it's kind of their way of saying, oh, I need to get away from you. I need to get away from this situation. So yeah, so I didn't mean to take us off topic, but I've just heard of that,
It is. It's another way of leaving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, permanently leaving. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if someone is going to that place in their mind, I think the thing that we really want to remember is there's probably some trauma there, and that part of their brain that is more of the freeze part of the shutdown,
right.
Escape. I feel numb. I don't really want to be here. Might be their sort of go-to. We all lean in our nervous systems with how we cope, depending on our experiences and who we are. And so that might be a part that they want to work with, just because, we want someone to just not be having those thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay. So, yeah. So, let's see. So the language, that's some of the language that you might hear from primitives, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Freeze is where they shut down and you can't get them to talk, maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
and you're mad because you feel like they're withdrawing from you, that they are intentionally shutting you out, right? But if we look, again, if we go back to the stress model, you know, if someone is not able to communicate, if they're sort of isolating, like where do you think they're at? They're probably not in that place where their nervous system is really awake, calm, alert, engaged. No, they're probably in a part of their nervous system in a state where they're more shut down, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So the language of ambassadors, though, so this is this is a fun topic. So the language of ambassadors, I have learned so much, and I have to say I really learned and actually got to witness this quite a bit with a very gifted occupational therapist who works a lot with kids with attachment distress, and they have just regulation issues that show up in a variety of ways in their bodies. But so one of the key things that she talks about and that she does with kids is she uses language that invites them. So rather than telling them what to do or directing them, or it's an invitation.
What does it sound like?
So an invitation to your partner. Okay, let's go back to a partner who maybe their go-to is they tend to get shut down when they get really stressed. And so they're isolating. So it could be in their room, they could be off somewhere, whatever. So the language of their partner that could be very helpful for them would be, let's say I'm going to text, honey, just wanted to let you know I love you. I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. I am here whenever you're ready to talk. So here, can you see how that's an invitation?
Sure.
Like, I'm ready, I'm waiting. Come on in whenever you're ready. Mm-hmm. So instead of, we need to talk tomorrow by 3:00.
Yeah.
So for someone who is already feeling shut down, that feels like more threat, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe their history is when someone told them what to do, it didn't lead to very good things, or they just felt very like they didn't have choice. They didn't feel like they had a lot of say in their life.
Yeah.
So invitational language is really helpful for waking up the nervous system a little bit. It builds safety. I feel like I've got choice.
Yeah.
It helps us to relax. So that is a great piece of language. So using terms of endearment are helpful. So notice I'm from Nebraska. My kids say, I can always tell when you've spent time with your family, Mom. You call everybody honey.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But anyways.
Well, I'm from Canada, so we're just all polite.
So what do you use in Canada?
Well, we use honey and sweetheart and, okay. Always, well, I shouldn't say always, there's a stigma about us Canadians, that it's like, oh, pardon me and thank you. And,
oh. Yeah, I have to say I don't think I've ever met a Canadian I just didn't think was awesome. I know that's a generalization, so anyway. But okay, so more language of the ambassadors. So doing a lot of the empathic listening, we've talked about that a little bit. But empathic listening, if you, again, just make it super simple, it's leading with the emotion that you think your partner is feeling. Honey, I can see you're mad right now, you're upset. I heard you just needed some time. So just wanted to let you know I'm here when you're ready. So notice I picked up on they're mad, they're, they're upset. So leading with that, so our partner feels seen. So that is a key a fundamental piece of ambassador language is empathy. Okay, so if we can lead with empathy, right away that ambassador is helping to soothe the primitive.
We're on the same side. That's
Oh man, that is huge. And
side.
actually, that's it. That is another key language to use that is very much of the ambassador brain. So I actually am working with this family right now, and they've got an adoptive kiddo who they are just, they should be the therapists. They're amazing. So, but one of the things that they repeatedly say to their kids is, we're all on the same team.
Right.
Just want to remind you, we're all on the same team. We're all in this.
Mm.
So, and that is hugely soothing.
Yes. Yeah.
For because when we're in fear, remember, we tend to go to polarization.
Sure.
I'm either in or I'm out.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just, oh yeah, we're on the same team. Okay. Yeah. So very soothing. So other language, just some teasing that can be really sweet, like just want to let you know, honey, don't know what I'd do without you. Want to talk with you when you're ready. Or if someone's coming at me and I'm the one who needs time, I might say to my partner, I know you really want to talk. I know that you're anxious. I can see, you're upset, you're scared, and I want to talk to you. I just need to settle in myself so I can really be present.
Sure.
And I'll be here.
So your assurance,
yeah, but leading with those words that reflect back to them, I get it. I see where you're at. Yeah. So that's language of some language that you can use, and really just knowing that when you use that language, not only are you helping your partner's brain and their primitives to settle, you're actually helping yourself to settle. Yeah. Just by using that language.
You're tapping into a different part of your brain, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, again, it can be really helpful just to practice this. You get it more and more over time. Every time you lay down a new neural pathway, even if every time you have just a little piece of success with it, and you see how it affects, you see what happens in your partner's eyes when they start to calm a little bit, when you say something that's empathic. Or
tell me, Kathy, in your practice, do you actually set up scenarios and have them practice?
Oh, definitely. Awesome.
Yeah, so they role play, and cool.
Yeah, with parents and their kids, and with couples.
Yes.
Because, and again, reinforcing over and over again, how would you possibly know how to do this? I don't know anyone who got this growing up.
Yeah, really. That's right.
And that's not to say our parents were lousy parents. It's like, this is stuff that we've learned in neuroscience over time.
Yeah. Well, again, we're wired to react for protection. So, and although we're wired to connect, this is kind of like a cultural thing, right? Like the words to use. And it's just, we're not wired with that, right? We're not born.
Very true. That is a fantastic point, because truly, if we are evolving out of history where we really were, life was much more about survival, right? Sure. It was about, if I was just going to get enough to eat, if I could find a place where, my little, tribe or whoever, where we could be safe for a while. We're not there anymore, but we're slow for the language to evolve, but also just neuroscience is teaching us so much. It's amazing.
Yeah, we didn't know this stuff maybe even 15 years ago.
Yeah, and if you look at survival in terms of history, or even at different places in history, or if there's famine, or if there's war, or people aren't safe, survival living actually can be more adaptive. For people to be very quick to respond to things that are a matter of safety, that's pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah.
To move quickly, to know how to, just to be on the lookout for how to create and keep safety.
Sure.
But so it makes sense. We're all learning different language now, different ways of making this all work. So, okay, so this is kind of a fun thing that you can do, though, that where you can actually, and I would say everybody do this because it's a playful way, which when we're in a more playful mode, we are more in our right brain, doing anything that has to do with the right brain, like creative things, play, humor, exploring, discovering, being curious, all of that. We're more in our right brain, and actually that does help to heal where attachment and trauma wounding happens. So,
okay.
so this is a little bit of play where you can actually just learn about your partner's primitives and their ambassadors, and they can learn about yours, and you can play with them. So I recommend you sit down on the floor, because if you're going to be working with stuff that has to do with primitives, you want to make sure you're pretty grounded, and that you sort of create an environment of safety for the play, okay, and some agreements like, okay, this is just play. If we start to feel triggered because we are going to be talking about our primitives, we can call, either one of us can call a timeout, and we can come back to it another time.
Cool. Okay, so first set some structure. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so just aware, okay, we're going to be playing with primitives, so who knows if they're going to take over.
Yeah, right. And let's have a plan.
Yes, yeah.
Which we often don't.
Yeah, but and it, the survival brain is just very powerful. So yeah, structure is good. So, but when you're on the floor, having your partner really show you what they see as maybe is a primitive part of you, like they notice something in your eyes, or and then you give them feedback of, yeah, I start to, when I get upset, I just feel the energy drain from my body. And your partner might say something like, yeah, I see your eyes just get glazed over. Yeah. And then you play out a scenario. So,
cool. Tell me.
So you might take like not something that is like highly triggering, but maybe an argument from long ago that you're kind of over. But what you're going to do is you're going to exaggerate the primitive.
Oh.
So you first do your own.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Who does whose? Because thank God when Jason gets triggered, I make fun of this in our retreats. He's got this line. His mouth disappears into his head. He's just got this line, and he laughs about it. But
that's great. Yeah, that is it. That's it.
If a couple doesn't set up some structure, like, let this be okay, you guys.
Yeah,
like, not an exercise.
And play. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Be careful here.
Yeah, play with it. And then, but do be sure to interweave some ambassadors in there, because you do want you're even if you're playing, you're still working with primitives, who that part of our brain is very powerful.
Okay, so what might that sound like if you're going to interweave into some ambassadors? I mean, what I do with Jason is like I laugh a little bit and I say, oh, it's just so awesome when that happens, and I'm not really sure what's going on in his head, but I just notice like there's this line, and I back up a little bit, but we'll laugh a little bit about it. So what would that sound like so as you're doing this play, what would it sound like to interject some ambassadors? What would it sound like?
Well, that exactly what you just said is great. So if you were to exaggerate that, because what I heard you say is you laugh a little bit. Yeah. Like maybe if you're playing, you might just bump up against him and laugh, and give him a little smile or something.
Yeah,
or,
touch.
Yeah. Or so. But if you're going to bring in the ambassadors in a way where you really want to do some practice, which I would really recommend, play with it. So, okay, sweetie. So this is what I see in you when you get really upset. One of the things that I see is like it's really subtle, but you start to look down a little bit more, and
Ah,
it's sometimes I don't catch it right away, but you're not with me as much.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
And so tell me what would be helpful. Does it feel helpful if I touch you?
Uh-huh.
Does it feel helpful if I joke with you? Like,
Mm.
let's play and see what feels good to you.
And you're engaging curiosity. That's a
Yes,
question. When you're
yes,
questioning in
yeah,
that way, you're not activated, in the other way, right?
yeah, yeah. And exactly what you said. So we're in that right part of the brain, right? Where it's just about discovery, exploring, um, again, which is very healing for attachment wounds, for trauma around it, which I personally think we all have.
Oh, yes.
And I did want to say, one of the things about trauma is that we really often think about trauma as being those things that only have to do with really big traumas, like say a
Mm.
major car accident, or you're in a flood and something bad happened, or natural disasters, or personal violence or something like that. So that's true, but what what is in my office, and I'm sure for you, Donna, what is in my office all the time is interpersonal trauma.
Sure.
And interpersonal trauma growing up has to do with, again, parents just not knowing how to meet their kids emotionally.
Yeah. Or
Like,
even a lot of yelling going on in the house.
yeah,
That's what I was,
yeah,
oh my gosh, like everything is drama.
yeah.
Screaming.
Well, in the nervous system, what the nervous system knows about relationship is it is stressful.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's probably safe to assume that most of us in our relationships are going to need to do some healing around interpersonal trauma.
And so
And
it's
so,
okay. And so that's the thing.
yeah,
It's okay. So Kathy, we've got 2 minutes left.
okay.
So kind of take us home with this, because this is such a great conversation.
It is. It's such good stuff, and I just want to say, everybody, this stuff works. It's especially if you can play with it, practice it a little bit. Go back to that first video that we did, the first interview on where we talk a lot about empathic listening.
Yes.
That one that you did a couple of weeks ago, I loved, Donna, about how to get the oxytocin up in your partner.
Yes.
Oh my God, everybody go back to that. It was
Yes.
October 3. It
Yes.
was so good. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
spot on. So,
Yeah.
but just along those lines, so love rituals that you can do. So one of the things that in a very unconscious way helps the nervous system to settle is just think of the 3 R's. So rhythms in how you relate to your partner, rhythms. So predictable rhythms in the day,
Yes.
routines, and rituals. So if we could just think about, maybe just put those all under the category of love rituals. So really important times of the day, if you can't do any other transitional part of the day, like when you come home from work, when you're first, you're still making that transition from being in one part of your life into another. That's a great time to do a ritual, to have a routine, a time where you connect in. It might be you just hold each other for a while. It might be you do some eye gazing. Eye gazing, unless you have a history where, and this happens with some people, they've had experiences growing up where the threat of a parent was just intense staring at a child.
Yes.
So some people don't do well with eye gazing, and that's okay. Just find another means.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but eye gazing just normally can feel let me not say normally, we all have our ways, but eye gazing for some people can be deeply relaxing, deeply settling for the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just remembering things like eye contact for many of us, not all of us, but skin to skin contact is it releases that oxytocin, and shared pleasurable experiences. And they don't have to be, I think we really need to remember that we're cognitive, we're in our minds a lot in our culture. And some of the things that are that the nervous system is most responsive to are very soft and are not about words. So if we're maybe talking with a really low voice, or even sometimes whispering, that's very calming. I just lost my train of thought there. I'm aware of the time.
So I mean.
So yeah, but just on that point, I think it's really important for us to remember that a lot of what we can do, the nervous system, you want to work with the unconscious, and things like that are sensory experiences, like the eye contact, the sounds that we hear, if they're soothing or not, skin to skin contact, sensory, those are all, and the rhythms and routines of our days. If we have a morning wave, especially in a nighttime ritual, making sure, even if we don't go to bed at the same times, that we do, a nighttime ritual where we
like a kiss goodnight and a hug.
Yeah, making sure that we honor our partner, that you're my person, I want to connect with you at these key points of the day. So those reach us in a cognitive way, but those things, the rhythms and the routines and sensory experiences, are huge for working with the unconscious and the nervous system, sort of learning it can calm in a way that just words can't.
Yes, that's key.
Super important. Yeah,
that's key. Well, listen, Kathy, we're running over, and I don't want to keep you. So I've loved this. Has been just gold. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And give us a quick blurb. Okay, so you've got a program coming up. Your online program is coming up when? And also, so if you want to find Kathy, you can find her. Here's her email. Kathy, that's Kathy @ Kathy, last name Kinskey, KINSKEY.com. That's her email address. And you can find her also. Her website is www.kathykinskey, that's with the EY.com. You can also find her on YouTube. She does regular YouTube videos, so you can get some awesome training there. Give us a quick blurb about your online program coming up. When?
Okay, you bet. So the program is helping your child to heal from trauma, loss, and stress. So basically getting the tools that our parents didn't have, because we know these things now. So getting them in your hands so you don't end up in a therapist's office, because that's what happens with a lot of the people I see. Parents who are awesome, love their kids, they just need tools to work with.
Sure. And so is that you're launching this in the new year? Is that what's happening in January?
December 3, and we'll take a little bit of a break over the holidays. But you know what? Over the holidays is when you can really use this stuff. So sign up.
Yes, and so if any of you have any questions, you can contact me, and I can give you the info. And also, too, I'd like to see if we can do a little bit of maybe an interview around that come that time. I'd love to put this in front of my parents, people that are, my audience that are parents, because this is fabulous. And that in trauma, it's like Kathy says, it doesn't have to be any great big thing. It can be happening on a daily basis. You don't know who's talking to your kid, even teachers and whatever.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. Just, kids who have trouble learning, or bullying, even if it's subtle bullying at school, that can be very traumatic for kids.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all parents should have these tools.
Yes.
Yeah. You just get empowered. So anyway, yes.
Thank you, Kathy. You are awesome. Once again, I just love it. This has been pure gold, and we will see you soon, I'm hoping.
Yes, I hope so too. Thanks so much, Donna. You're awesome too. Thanks for what you do.
You're welcome, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.